guys, so welcome back to my astrology series. Today we are doing Sagittarius. If you look at the symbol for Sagittarius, it's a half human, half beast type figure, and this represents the dual personality of the Sagittarius, half human, half beast. So they're constantly being drawn from one side to the other in terms of personality traits, kind of like the same thing as with Gemini, where they have the dual personality. So that's a very difficult thing for anybody to have to deal with. Sagittariuses, because of this reason, tend to be moody because they feel like they're being pulled from one side to the other between their wild animal urges and their more human counterpart. So that's one thing I can tell you about Sagittarius. The other thing I can tell you about Sagittarius is that they love to travel. And I had a co-worker at one time that I got to know really well that was a Sagittarius. And the times that he was talking about the places he had gone and the things he had done were, you could just tell when he would speak about these things that these were like the best times of his life, was when he would go somewhere and just have these different kinds of experiences outside of everyday life. So Sagittariuses love to travel. There is, no place that they wouldn't like to go. Alright, so let's get started with the makeup look that I came up with for Sagittarius, and per usual I've already applied my EOS lip balm, Physicians Formula Argan Wear BB Cream, NYX Dark Circle Concealer in the shade Light, and Maybelline Superstay Better Skin Concealer in Light over that. Then I set those things with MAC Studio Fix Powder in NW20. I set the BB cream with that, and then I set the concealers with Wet n Wild Fergie CenterStage Collection Take on the Day Mattifying Powder in Pedestal. For a blush today, I have on Benefit Dallas, and this is just a very natural flush of color. It just, makes it look like you're blushing, basically. And then I filled in my brows with NYX Microbrow Pencil in Taupe. Alright, so let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use a product that I haven't shown you yet because I haven't been doing haul videos or anything since this series began. And so I had mentioned in a previous astrology series video that I had bought MAC Rubenesque paint pot. At that same time I also repurchased Bare Study, because I've had Rubenesque and Bare Study before, but it's been quite a few years now since I've had them. So I have not used this yet since I opened it, but like I said, I have had this before. It's just a gorgeous gold cream eyeshadow. I absolutely love MAC's paint pots, and I wish I had them in every single color, but that's pretty much impossible because there are a ton of them. So I'm going to start with a MAC 242 brush, 242 shader brush, and I'm going to apply this . Yeah, this is just a really gorgeous gold that is really easy for anyone to pull off. It's just one of those nice neutrally type gold shades. And then I'm also going to take this up into the crease because I'm going to put something over it, and I want to have I want the eyeshadow that I'm putting over it to have something to adhere to. And then I'm going to fade it up so that this is going to be my lid shade and my highlight shade. So this is going to be all over the entire area to start with. But I'm trying to get the biggest concentration of it on my lids. Okay, move on to the other eye. God, I haven't used this in so long. I always thought this was just like possibly the most ideal shade of gold, because gold is sometimes a difficult color for me to pull off. I look better in silvers and grays and things like that. But this is a nice universal shade of gold that I really feel like would work on pretty much anybody. If I can get away with it, then anybody can. So I'm really glad to have this paint pot back in my collection. Just trying to blend this out a little bit at the same time. I don't want to have any areas that are more heavily concentrated than others. Just gonna apply a tiny bit more to this first eye to make it look more even, because it looks like there's more on that other eye. All right, that's better. Okay, now I had mentioned early on in the series that there were going to be products that would make 2 appearances, and this is one of those videos. We're going to use NYX Nude Matte Eyeshadow in Dance the Tides. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a MAC 239 shader brush, and I'm going to apply this I'm just tapping off the excess here. This is a little bit of a powdery eyeshadow texture, but this color is just, it's one of those reddish brown colors that just works so well in the crease or in the outer portion of the eye. I think I mentioned the last time I used this that I think this is very similar to Swiss Chocolate by MAC, but I don't have that eyeshadow, so this is good enough. Alright, I'm going to put this on the outside part of my eye. And I'm starting on the outside part because that's where I want the most concentration of color, and then I'm just sort of fading it inward. And then I'm going to go back when I'm finished and use a blending brush and blend that out a little bit. But I'm going to do the other eye first. Sometimes it's a lot easier when you apply an eyeshadow with a shader brush and then blend it with a separate brush. Especially when you're doing this type of look where you're not doing a definitive crease and you're putting some of the shadow on your outside portion of your lid and just that whole outer corner area there. Okay, now I'm going to grab a blending brush. I'm going to use that Rite Aid Renewal eye brush that I'm always talking about, because I don't want to use the C brush because I think that might blend it out too much, so this will probably be perfect. So I'm going to start by going over the top of the perimeter of where I laid down that color. And then the outside edge. And then I'm just going to very lightly brush across the lid part and the actual crease. Okay, now let's see, how even does that look in terms of color distribution? I just want this to be like a very subtle type thing where it goes from gold to brown and just fades gradually. Okay, that looks pretty even to me. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some MAC Carbon, and I'm going to take a small brush. This is a Rite Aid Renewal brush, but it's their eyeliner brush, and I'm going to dip that into MAC Carbon, which is just a matte black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to smudge this along the upper lash line. Putting my brush as close as I can right along that lash line. And this is a pretty intense black, so be very careful how much you put on your brush. I'm just sort of like going along that rim and smudging down. So we're sort of using this like an eyeliner, but with a little bit more of a subtle effect to it. Okay, this eye is coming out more blended than the other one, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that brush that I was using to blend the brown, and I'm going to go right along the edge and just brush it right in between where the gold and the black is. I'm going to do the same thing to the other eye, but more gently. Okay. Now I'm going to do the same thing along the lower lash line with the Carbon. Jeez, I haven't done this in a long time. It's a nice replacement for eyeliner because it's more subtle and blended and smudged, and you don't get any harsh lines or anything when you do this. As long as you don't put too much product on your brush at one time. I think it's very easy to fall into a trap where you do your makeup the same way all the time, and it's good to, you know, use different techniques and stuff, because otherwise it can get pretty boring. The only thing I don't like about this method is it reduces your lid space, because see how the black comes up a little further than I would like. I wonder if I tried to take some gold and brush that across, I'd probably mess the whole thing up. I want to try it and see what happens, because I feel like the black comes up a little too high. Now if I put a cream product on top of all those powders, it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take some cotton swabs and see if maybe I can just take a little bit of that carbon off that upper portion. Yeah, that was a better choice. If I tried to put more of the Bare Study paint pot on top, I don't think that would have worked. Creams and powders don't always go together that well. So I'm just blending out a little bit of that top portion of that carbon that I put on. Yeah, that was definitely the better choice. Okay, so what's next? CoverGirl Supersizer Mascara. And for lips today, I'm going to do, this is a lip liner from Sally Beauty Supply. It's Beautique is the line, and the shade is Real Red. I'm going to line my lips with this. And I'm going to fill them in. And we're going to use one of MAC's most famous lipsticks, Ruby Woo, which is just a matte, blue-based, cool-toned red lipstick. And now I'm going to shut the camera off for a second and go take my hair down, and I'll be right back. Okay, so this is my look for Sagittarius, and this series only has 2 more signs left. Next will be Capricorn, and then lastly will be Cancer, and that will wrap up the astrology series. So I'll see you next time, and have a nice rest of your weekend. Bye.